shortly. So I'm going to dive right into the 10 tips that we have picked up. And it's not cast in stone because for every country, wherever you are situated, there is some level of influence from what the employment system requires. But from a global scale, reviewing CVs from over 25 countries, we've seen some threads that we think that are very useful for people to take note of. The first one on number 10, so I'm going to count down until, not in order of importance, but for me, just in order of usefulness. So I'm going to start with number 10 being introduction. A CV, like you all know, is going to represent you whether you like it or not. It's going to represent who you are in the absence of you. Any recruiter is going to pick up your CV and imagine it's you. You don't have a voice, you don't have a face to put to the CV. And so it's very important that these are some of the tips that you take while you prepare or put your best foot forward. So we've seen that people put things like gender, age, religion, family statuses, etc., marital statuses on their CV. But what we feel is an important tip for you going forward would be, don't give people a reason to be biased, okay? Every human being has some level of biases, you know, from a recruiter to a CEO. There's some filters that we have. A lot of people are becoming more and more aware of their unconscious biases. And so putting things like age, you know, has a way of giving a recruiter a reason to somewhat say, oh, I think this person is too old, I think this person is too young, or there's some research that has found, that has, you know, proven that when a woman mentions she has children in a CV or in an interview, she has about twice the likelihood of not being called back for an interview. So the person who doesn't mention anything about family, children, has a higher advantage of coming for a next round of interview. So what we think is a great point to note is, on your very first go, before you even have a chance to defend your skill and your abilities, try as much as possible to minimize on some of these obviously easy to be biased around. Okay, religion, gender, for us, we think that it's a very good point to note. Unless, for example, the job is specifically recruiting for a woman or a man and you want to put that out. But technically, a CV is supposed to demonstrate your expertise, demonstrate your ability to fill the role or the vacancy that is available. So if you've not been required to put some of these information there, we would advise that you don't do that in order to give people a reason to be biased. So that's number 10. On number 9, so please feel free to put your questions in the chat, and then I can pick them up as we go along. Number 9, our tip for you here is on structure. We're saying that make sure that the most relevant information comes first. Okay, that is our 9th tip for you. Make sure the most relevant information comes first. We see a lot of CVs that have, maybe you put your educational qualifications on top, then you follow with your work experience. We've seen that in many CVs. But one of the things that we feel is very crucial to remember, because for a recruiter or somebody who needs someone to fill a position, what I am looking for is, one, can the person do the job? I want to see something that is similar to what I am looking for. So your work experience, in our opinion, is the most relevant part of your CV that has to come first. Of course, your contact details, so that, you know, a recruiter is not searching all over your CV for your email address, your phone number. You know, so work experience, you know, should be at the first sight of your recruiter. One of the reasons is because a lot of recruiters are spending less and less time to look through your CV. So you might as well want to capture their attention in the moment. A work experience, what it does for the recruiter is to say, oh, this person has a relevant skill that I need, a relevant achievement that I need in my organization. And so this is one of our top tips for you. Put your most relevant information first. Hobbies, references, and all can come at the tail end when somebody needs more information to verify how you have achieved something in an organization. I hope that makes sense. So our third tip, which comes at just before I go off this one, I put skills after qualification. There are some people who put their skills right after their introduction and their name. If someone says I have a skill in gamification, that's them. They're saying it. It could be false. So what you want to do when you put a list of skills on your CV is to make sure that the work experience you have done justifies the skill, right? So if you have a skill in gamification and you've listed it there, we need to see a work experience or a relevant experience you've had that justifies the skill you have put there. And so for me, I would advise people to put their skill after qualification, because then I would have read your experience. Now you give me a summary of who you are or the package you're bringing to the table. So that's at number 9. We move to number 8 of our top tips, and we're focusing on formatting. All right. So formatting is so crucial, like super, super crucial. And a lot of people are great candidates, but sometimes you put your recruiter off in the first 30 seconds because you don't have the right fonts, you don't have the right colors, you've not bulleted them, so it really looks like an essay that the recruiter has to painstakingly go through, and you don't have the right spacing, and so everything is jammed up. They move from work experience and they are looking for what's the next work experience. What else? They're literally like scrambling through the CV. You don't want the recruiter to go through that pain, because then they might easily or have the more likelihood of putting your CV aside quickly. Some people even say that recruiters today have only 8 seconds to scan through a CV and decide whether it goes into, backwards or forward, that kind of pile. So formatting is very crucial. So allow yourself time to choose the right fonts. I have an example in the next slides, which I will come to. If you have to use colors, use your colors to enable your CV. For example, using maybe a brighter or a darker color or a bold font to highlight, let's say, the captions like educational experience or work experience, so that immediately their eye is drawn to those headings and they can clearly differentiate one segment of your CV from the other, right? Typos. I've seen typos a million times. I have an example of I was scheduling some interviews for a very senior position, and I forwarded the CV to the recruiter, so it moved from one person to another. And this time, it had gotten to the final decision maker to interview the candidate. And she looked at the person's CV, glanced through, and just started circling a number of things. And she said, you know what? Go and tell the candidate that we have to reschedule, because I'm not going to recruit a brand manager or somebody of a senior position with typos in their CV. No. So typos is a no-no, because it tells the person that you didn't go through the CV. You probably did it in a rush. And so it's very important that you get a second pair of eyes to look through your CV to spot, things that were in your blind spot. All right. And this is a typical example of how you could use fonts and colors to make your CV look great. On the left side is one of the great CVs we received in the just ended recruitment for the volunteer program. So she has put what her biggest skill is, or what her current role is as a junior data analyst. So straight away, I know she's going for the data analyst role, and I can look through. She's used a red color to draw my eye to the different segments. She's used a bolder and a bigger font to give me titles. So from a distance, even in a relaxed position, I can easily pull my eye to see, okay, she's done featured projects, okay, tackling the health crisis in Africa. So these are 2 projects she's done. Okay, great. Now I see work experience. Now I can come down to read the minute details in there. On the other hand, this is another CV that we also received. Look at the spelling of fundamentals and look at the spelling of marketing. This is a clear indication somebody who has done a bachelor in copywriting. It sends a very interesting signal that if you've done a bachelor in copywriting, you're having these grammatical errors on your CV. That is really not something that a recruiter would want to pass. You may pass on the content, but these are little things that can separate you from being part of the good pile. All right. So these are just examples. So if you have a question, please feel free to put it in the chat, and I would definitely come to it. All right. So I'll move on to the top 7. Okay. And we'll be talking about file formats. I'm sure somebody will say, how does my file format make a difference? File formats make a huge difference today, especially in the technological era where CVs are picked up, whether it's LinkedIn, you have your easy apply, or it's a careers portal of a big organization. What we are advising, or one of our tips that we would say is, save your CV in a PDF format, not in versus a docs format, unless the application, the browser, or wherever you're uploading your CV requires for a specific file format. And use your name, use or rename the file as your name. So for example, I have a CV, I save it in PDF, and I rename it Joy Bonsu Schmutz CV, or Joy Bonsu Schmutz Motivation Letter. With this, if for example, the recruiter takes your CV and goes through it, and maybe she wasn't able to, or he wasn't able to make a decision, and later he says, oh, there was actually a great candidate. Let me go back and then, review and they say, okay, his name was Isaac. Now they search through their folder for Isaac, and there's no Isaac popping up. Immediately, she doesn't, or he doesn't have time to waste. They say, you know what, I can't find the CV, and that's it. You lose your opportunity. So we advise that you don't keep those numbers and alphanumeric symbols as in the file name, okay? And then the reason we advocate for PDF is because a lot of sometimes when you save in docs and you move to another person's computer, the formatting or the version of their computer can immediately put your text in a very haphazard manner. Your text begins to look clumsy. Sometimes the formatting is disrupted, and also you wouldn't want anybody to sabotage your CV. For example, if you have multiple recruiters and somebody decides, okay, I can just update this and then push it forward. Keep your format in PDF. Applicant tracking systems today, when you upload your CVs, they pick your CV and they scan your CV. So you should be able to use a format that is scannable. You can't use PNG. You can use a picture format so that the applicant tracking system can efficiently read your CV. Artificial intelligence today is playing a role in your CV or your recruitment. For us at Abeyie, we use HubSpot to manage the recruitment process. And Microsoft Docs, when you're trying to open it in HubSpot, it doesn't allow you to preview. You would have to download the file before you can watch it, which is another 2 or 3 seconds, wasted. So we realized that PDF formats can be easier to manage. So take note of your file formatting. On number 6, we'll focus on the length of your CV. We've had a lot of questions and, people asking, so my CV be 15 pages, 10 pages? How many pages long should my CV be? What we would advise is that try to keep your CV to a maximum of 2 pages, unless you have like 8, 10 plus years of experience and you can go above 2 pages. The reason we do say that is because really what a recruiter is looking for is about achievements. It's about achievements. Don't waste time talking about your job description. Every recruiter has a fair idea of the description of a job. So if, for example, you were a bookkeeper, let's say after high school you were a bookkeeper in a shop, and you put that on your CV, you don't need to tell the recruiter what bookkeeping is all about. Okay, so I manage books, I write down entries, I edit documents, I invoice. Those are what we call a job description. What you want to do is to tell the recruiter what you have done during your time as a bookkeeper. So, for example, if you saved the company some money by doing an efficient bookkeeping, that is what I want to see as a CEO. That's what I want to see as a recruiter, to say, oh gosh, I'll get this guy to come in and save me some money. Give the recruiters an outcome to look forward to. Wow, this person did a project in Poland on health crisis, and this is what she achieved. She managed to train 500 girls in digital skills. The moment I see that outcome or that achievement, I immediately go, yes, I need this candidate to do the same for my organization. All right. So I see people using 12 bullet points for one job. Yes, then you are going to exceed 2 pages. So for every job, try to keep your achievements or your outcomes and a specific work experience to about 4. Mentioning measurable achievements. I saved the company 50,000 Ghana cedis in year 1. I managed to recruit 15 people in this year. Or I helped the company, even if you didn't do it alone and it was with a team, you say that we were able to increase revenue by 10% each year. We were able to increase the diversity of our team by 15% year on year. Those are achievements that recruiters are looking for. Those are achievements that recruiters are looking for. All right. So on number 5, I'm going to talk about refer to the JD. The JD represents the job description. And this is more for a motivation statement. A motivation statements are, short pieces of write-ups that you do to back your CV. For us, I would say the CV is your what, and then your motivation statement is your why. Okay? So in your what, you have said, I have worked 10 years in telecommunications, or I have done, 5 years in pharmaceuticals, whatever. That is the what. That is who you are, what you are bringing to the table. Now, the motivation statement is your why. Why should you be considered from among 300 applicants? Why should you be considered for the role? So a motivational statement is your great opportunity to stand out from the pile, right? So use this as to demonstrate that you understand the role, number 1, and why you are applying for the job. I read a very awesome motivational statement, and the moment I read it, the first sentence, what the candidate did was to say she understood what a business development manager does. It is a great way to start your CV before you get to maybe your values or your motivations, etc. So she started by saying, as a business development manager, my role is to, for example, prepare pitch decks or to prepare business analysis that could be used to gain new clients or new business, or extend into new business markets. The moment she makes that paragraph statement, my first thing goes like, ding, this person understands the scope of her job. She has read the CV and she knows exactly what we are looking for. So use the motivation statement as a way to start the conversation compelling the recruiter to understand that you do know what you're about. You do know what the role is about. Provide cohesion. Okay, so cohesion, and I use the three C's: compelling, cohesion, and clarity. Cohesion, what cohesion does is to tie in every single aspect of your CV. So, for example, you've worked in a multinational, you've worked in a non-profit, you've worked in a startup. Your motivational statement is an opportunity to let the recruiter know how all these experiences come together to make you the great candidate, or the candidate suitable for the job. So, for example, you say a combined experience of 15 years working in a multinational, an NGO, and a startup organization has given me a broad scope of knowledge or realization on how to work with teams of all sizes, how to work with teams in a global scale, etc. Okay, so when you do that, you provide cohesion. I have a session that I did some time back called Using Storytelling in Your CV Writing and Your Motivation Statement. When you're telling a story to somebody, the person follows you from scene 1 to scene 2 to scene 3. If you're watching a movie and all of a sudden the movie ends and they didn't give you the last scene, you go like, so what was this movie really about? You get upset. Sometimes that is how the experience of a recruiter is. It's like you're taking them on a journey and all of a sudden they cannot understand, what am I looking at? Is this person a data analyst or this person is a researcher? I don't get the cohesion. So use the concept of storytelling, which leads them from a most relevant role and how it connects into a role as, let's say, a voiceover artist. It might not work, but for you, you're talking about how you bring in arts, you bring in science, you bring in being somebody who likes to explore. That concept makes the person realize that, oh, wow, this is sort of a well-rounded person, right? Then clarity. Clarity, I cannot emphasize much. If your CV or your motivational statement is not clear, you're not using the right language, you're not using the right words, it can impact the recruiter from making a wise decision. I will move to the top 4, where I talk about language. Okay, I think I have actually gone ahead of myself to talk about language as well. So definitely using the right words to tell a story. If your grammatical cohesion is not working, the adjectives, find help, find somebody to support you to use this tool. And a typical example I will talk about 2 CVs that I have here. This is somebody telling me about her hobbies and the work experience. Like I mentioned in the first slide, the work experience is way after the hobbies. It's actually the last thing on her CV, where she says, work as an intern, University of Blantyre, there's no spacing, nothing. And the period is 1 year, duties, perform awareness campaign. I mean, this doesn't give you much as a recruiter to hire somebody, because what is she come and do for me? Is she going to do awareness campaign? What kind of awareness campaign? How successful was her awareness campaign? I'm not the one going to be answering those questions for. So then I will pass and look for somebody else. All right. So it's important that, and then I'll just want you to look at the hobbies in terms of the languaging that they're using. Singing, chatting with friends, watching movies, exploring the internet, and reading books. One of the things that I learned from a very good CV coach was that when you're talking about hobbies, which a lot of people do not know whether to put on their CV or not, to put a hobby on your CV, it's not supposed to necessarily relate with the work or that you're applying for. But in terms of singing, what do you sing? Do you sing opera? Giving the recruiter something that gives them context about you. So what kind of singing? What level of singing? Do you sing in concerts? Do you sing in church? Or, I have to have some context to your singing and not just singing, okay? Chatting with friends. I find that, okay, chatting with friends. It could be a good social skill, but it doesn't work well when you put the language this way. Another person with the CV on the right, if you can see, in terms of language, is okay, responsibilities, help in administration department. Next one, help in IT department. See, if you are trying to be competitive for a job that you want, words like help do not carry gravitas. Words like I support, it doesn't show you as a thought leader. It doesn't show you as somebody who can handle something by themselves, except it's maybe a very intense position. But I will advise you can use synonyms that can support instead of help. And what help did you do in the administration department? He could have taken his time to really give me something he did in the administration department that really deserves my attention. Okay, so you can't just leave things as it is and allow the recruiter to assume that they have an idea what you did in the ICT department. Okay, so language is very important in this case. I would move on to the third, our top three. I mean, like I said, it's in no order of importance. And I will talk about the three I's, okay? So the three I's for me is also tackling the motivational statement. You need to convince the recruiter of your intent, your interest, and also show how informed you are, all right? So a motivational statement, like I said, is your why to the what of your CV. Clearly show your intent that you are interested in taking the role of a volunteer in this organization. Show your intent. I'm excited to have applied for this role or this opportunity. And then you talk about, so that also shows interest. What is it about your CV? What is it about your work experience that makes you a great candidate for this position? Okay, so talk about your interest and how excited you are about this opportunity and how informed you are. Well, I see a lot of people not showing any alignment to company values, not showing any alignment to the industry or the vision of the organization. Your motivational statement is the best place to show that the company cares about. I think I have an example here for you. All right. So here are some examples of motivational statements that I saw while recruiting, in the last 2 years. They were asked to write their motivational statement, and this is what they shared. Love to display my talent. That was all I that was all I got for motivational statement. Another person said, do unto others as you want others to do unto you. What do I do with that? Okay. Then another person says, when you show courage in the face of adversity, you change your life and others. Never give up on your dream. When they ask for a motivational statement, it does not mean a quote that motivates you. It doesn't mean a statement of fact that you feel, I love this person so much. I love to hear a quote from, let's say, Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. And so you come into the room or your motivational statement by writing what you admire the most or their most favorite quote. No. I've always been passionate about business development. So when I saw the vacancy, I was happy to submit my application. I believe my period of working will benefit a lot. Okay. Passion alone doesn't work here. And especially when you hear someone say, I'm passionate about this job. Okay. Passion is very subjective. I cannot measure it. Okay. You can put it there. You can say it in an interview when they have put a face to the name and to the skill, but not when they cannot see you. How do I know you are lying about passion? Passion is very subjective. So this is not the space to talk about what you are so passionate about and how eager you want to do. When I'm seeing you in person or when you're submitting a video interview, then I can put the passion to the way you are answering the questions. Okay, so let's try and avoid these kind of things. Also, another one is I'm a graduate seeking for new and exciting roles that will help me acquire new skills for self-development and to better my chances of getting an exciting job opportunity. I found that very interesting because, well, the person is interested in getting the role just because it will help them, because you can see the pronoun here, me, help them my chances of getting an exciting job opportunity. So one, it said that this job opportunity is not exciting. Two, it's about you. It's not about the company. It's not nothing about the company. So you can use some great words like, well, these are some examples, not entirely everything that they wrote, but I picked pieces of it. Let's look at the second one. I would love to associate myself with the organization's reputation and core values of leadership, excellence, advocacy, and development. It tells you immediately that the person did his research about the organization. They understand that this is what I would have to embody if I work for the company. And so immediately you win my attention and I say, oh, this guy took his time to research about the company. Another instance would also be the fact that the person talks about, for example, in the last sentence, I look forward to getting an opportunity to discuss my candidacy in more detail, and I thank you very much for your time and consideration. I didn't see this in most motivational statements, but this person is like, you know what? I appreciate it if you have the time to talk further about it. Maybe I may not be a perfect match for the job you're looking for, and you don't have to be a perfect match. But then making such a statement, say, oh, the person is actually open to have a conversation, so that then if I have another opportunity, I can come back and then allow the person to get it done. All right, so on number 2, before we wrap up soon, we're going to look at words, okay? So the CV is full of words. Everything on your CV is words, except you're using some pictures. I personally would use my picture, but it depends on where I am. When I was in France, applying for a job in France, I will use my picture because it's accepted. People actually look forward to seeing the face and then, add it to the words. It depends on where you are, which country you're working from, and know whether it's accepted or not. Use words that show leadership. And I brought these 3 skills up because if you look at the top skills of the future by the World Economic Forum, there are certain skills that leaders are looking for, companies are looking for, So when you're using words like, I led my team to achieve 10% of revenue this year, immediately I know that this is a person who can champion something. This is a person who can lead a cause. I help my team to solve a very, critical problem in our organization where we managed to do A, B, C, and D. You use words or sentences and phrases that connote that you are a team player because you are coming to work in an organization where there are already existing people. Every recruiter, every CEO, every entrepreneur who has some bucks to spend on a new hire is looking for somebody who can be a team player, somebody who can add and not subtract, somebody who can sync with the company's culture. So your CV must have words and phrases that connote some of the top skills of the future. Entrepreneurship, you went out of your own way. Volunteering, when it comes to other experiences or the certificates that you've done, show that you've done things outside your scope of comfort. You're also somebody who thinks outside the box. So words are so key. Don't repeat yourself. If you use driven individual, motivated individual somewhere, don't keep using those words throughout your CV. Look for synonyms. Find somebody who you think, oh, this person is great at words. Let the person reframe and rephrase your words on your CV. And last but not the least, for me, I feel like this is even the most important point for me, is referrals. Referrals, it's not the same as references. It's not part of the CV. It's not part of the motivation statement. But getting connected to an insider, trust me, it's for me, most of the people that I've worked with have gotten the job because there was an insider. One, an insider can give you fact check. Oh, I checked this on your internet. I'm trying to apply for this job. Connect with somebody. If you want to work in Microsoft, connect with people in Microsoft and then learn the way they use the words, how they approach the brand and the company. And you walk into the organization for your interview, and sometimes you're wearing the brand colors. Oh, someone's like, oh, thoughtful. The telecom space, they are very competitive. And so if you go and walk into, let's say, a Vodafone in a yellow blazer, people were like, well, this girl didn't do her homework, a lot of things. So insider information gives you a huge advantage. Some companies also have referral programs. I got someone into my previous company through a referral program because the person said, oh, hello, Joy. I'm trying to apply for a position in your company. Any advice? I've been trying for the last 6 months, 15 applications. I've not even got one phone call. And I said, you know what? Send me your CV and let me take a look at it. A lot of the errors and the misinformation that I have mentioned were all there. Spelling mistakes, not updating his work experience to the most relevant ones. His university degree even still had up to date. And I said, you finished school almost 6 years ago. Why is this up to date? No wonder you're not being called for an interview. No wonder any recruiter is giving you an opportunity. But insider information, I know how my company recruits. I know the core values of my company. So it's very easy to say, you know what, change this, use these words. And trust me, the guy got the job and was even recommended for a higher position. So I've talked about referral programs, and sometimes the employees get money or they get paid for referring a great candidate. So find out companies that have referral programs and then speak to somebody even before you make your application. So these are some great tips. I have worked with them with people on the ground. 2 weeks ago, I've used some of these techniques for somebody, and the person has gotten their job. A very, very quick summary. Okay, these are some real cases that I worked with. So I just mentioned the guy in the banking system who, had applied for 10 jobs in my company, no response, nothing. He hadn't gotten any salary for 3 months. We started from the CV to ensure there was cohesion, clarity, and he was using compelling words. I'm eager. I have a strong, eagerness or affinity towards working in the telecom space. Stuff like that. And through the employee referral program, through coaching him on some of these CVs, he got the job. And like I said, his line manager said, oh, we actually have a higher job. This guy is damn good. But how do we know you are damn good if your CV is full of mistakes and not representing you well? Kwame, who had, by the way, he's not Kwame, but I'm using Kwame, who had an international opportunity to go and work, somewhere in the Middle East. He said, Joy, you know what? I'm supposed to send this to the panel, blah, 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 and they're going to look at it without me presenting. I looked at it and I said, you know what? The visualization, the cohesion, the compelling nature. Trust me, the guy has been working in this huge company for the last 4 years. And now, lastly, wanted a remote opportunity. Her starting point definitely was to connect with like-minded people. We also had to look at what skills are needed, relevant for the job. So don't put irrelevant work experiences on your CV just to fill up space. Put up the relevant job opportunities or the relevant job experiences, qualifications and certification. That makes the recruiter go like, oh, this is the guy that I need for my company. All right. So these are some real cases that I've worked with people on, and they have gotten the jobs that they were looking for. So CV writing is so crucial. It's so crucial. It represents you. It's a paper that represents you. So take time to go over your CV before sending it through. All right. So that brings us to the end of this quick presentation. Okay, I see that there's some things in the chat. I'm going to check it out. And I think Jacob might be here with us. All right. So Jacob is here. And let me know what you find the most relevant in this short presentation. If you have any questions around what you wish you could have done better, or any doubts about any of the points that I mentioned, I will be happy to answer these questions for you. So I'm seeing Catherine Danlami, Catherine saying, please, can we get a CV template or sample? So in the beginning, I mentioned that because we're dealing with different countries all together in one space, I hesitated not to share templates. I hesitate not to share sample because the tips and the pointers should be able to point you in a direction where you can write a good CV. Today, if you know about the Canva tool, I use Canva to work on CVs. I use Canva. I recommend Canva. And today, even with their AI functionality called the Magic Tool, you can actually let Canva generate a CV for you. All right. So that's one tip. You can use Canva, and there's so many other softwares today that can help you build on a CV. The other thing is also for LinkedIn. Today, LinkedIn is able to use your various work experiences to extract or build a PDF CV for you at your choice. So make sure your LinkedIn profile, you can make sure that it's updated to the T, and so that you can be able to easily extract a CV from it. All right, so I see Samuel saying, what's the difference between motivational letter and motivational statement? And also kindly differentiate a motivational from a cover letter. This is also a very popular question. I mean, the objective is the same. The objective of motivational letter, motivational statement, cover letter, the objective is the same. We want to hear your intention. We want to hear how informed you are and your interests. Okay, it's not a repetition of your CV. I see people say, I have 15 years of experience in banking, I have 10 years. That's the purpose of your CV. So you don't need to replicate your CV in your motivational letter. It's not done. Literally, it should be about 3-4 paragraphs, an introduction expressing your interest, a second paragraph showing your intent, then showing how informed you are about the aligning of your personal values and the organizational values can give you a good balance. All right. Claudia is asking, do you need to add a motivational statement to your application, even if it's not asked? If it's not asked, don't add it. There are some people who they know that, okay, this is what I'm looking for. When I'm done, I'm going to call the person for an interview. So if it's not asked, you can skip it. Or if you feel you have to or you want to, please go ahead and add it. It probably would just add on to the recruiter's work if they haven't requested for it. All right, so I hope that at least I've been able to answer a few questions. Okay, so another one is, thank you. I have never added a motivational statement to my CV. I have to add it. Yes, it just definitely gives you the why. Like you're speaking to the CEO and you say, you know what, this is why you have to hire me. I'm so motivated. So that part that you put on your CV, I've seen recruiters go like, so this guy, he says he's driven and motivated. How is he expecting me to validate that statement? So I would just entreat you, put the whys and all of that. I mean, that small thing under your name and email and all of that. Use that space to talk about your career objective. Where you see yourself more in the future. What this opportunity is going to do for you in the next, role. Because I also want to see continuity. I want to see that, this person I'm hiring would be able to do this maybe when I give them another role or a higher role. So use that personal statement to talk about your career objectives. Because if you say you are passionate, you are driven, I mean, I would not be able to validate that until I have met you, until you've submitted some assessments. But just with words, I think that it's a waste of space. All right. All right. So to me, let me just take your last question so that I reserve the last 5 minutes for Jacob. If you worked as an intern before you were fully hired by the same company, is it relevant to add it to your work experience? Yes. So when I talk about relevance, relevance is in different levels. So you can show relevance by industry. So for example, you worked maybe in sales in oil and gas. Now you're going to work in oil and gas, but this time you're applying for an HR position. I would be very happy to see, oh, she's done something with oil and gas, industry relevance. There's also relevance with the company. So if you've done an intern in Bank of Ghana and you're going to apply for a business development role in Bank of Ghana, the moment I see you've worked in Bank of Ghana, I know that at least the basics of our company, ethics, values, you already have it. I don't have to waste time going to find somebody who I'm now going to train about values and all. So it's very essential you put that there. And also, so there's that. And then there's also relevance on scope of work. So that's where you say, okay, I was a banker in, Absa Bank, and I was a banker in Barclays Bank, and I was a banker in, then you say, oh, wow, this guy has, to be recruited in these different companies for a type of position. That means that, you are really good at it. All right. So awesome. So everyone, I told you at the beginning that we're going to be having the admissions director from Kibo School, who's going to be sharing with us a little bit about Kibo. They're doing some amazing work, getting some more young people into digital and technology. So I'll allow him to introduce himself and then tell us what he does. So stay through till the end.
Sure. Thanks, Joy, for having me, and good morning to everyone on the call. I'm very happy to be with you this afternoon. So, like Joy rightly said, I work with Kibo School. The director of admissions there. My name is Jacob, and like listening to the conversations, it's really about preparing you for the job market. And that is one thing that we are doing at Kibo to prepare young Africans and Africans in general to be able to take up roles or jobs in tech. And currently, most employers and most remote opportunities would require you to have some basic or even some expert level of tech skills. And that is what we are doing at Kibo. So we have a degree program in computer science, and we have a few short courses, 5 week short courses that we also take. But then I like to spend majority of the time that I have on this call, even though it's not so much, to just talk about our degree program. So we've opened applications for our degree program for anyone that's interested in applying to our computer science degree program. We are taking applicants in Ghana, in Kenya, and in Nigeria. I'll share more details on how you can apply for the degree program. But a few things for you to have in mind is one, getting a degree from Kibo means you are getting a globally accredited and relevant degree. One thing that we also big on is connecting people or connecting our students with employers, because we know that in Africa or in general, getting a role or getting a job is not only dependent on your skills, it's also dependent on the network that you have. So we are really connecting our students with employers to ensure that they are building the right skills. The founders of Kibo School used to previously work in Google. So there's quite a good network that we have when it comes to people that work within the tech space, not only in Africa, but then globally, just to ensure that we are preparing our students to be able to take up these opportunities, right? So interviewing for these remote global roles, you need to be well prepared. So we have mentors and we have networks that we are connecting our students with to ensure that they are well prepared for it. One good thing that we have for our computer science degree as well is for anyone that applies by April 21st, we are giving them a free laptop towards their computer science education. We have financial aid available as well in the form of deferred tuition. What deferred tuition basically means is you are studying virtually for free during your 3-year duration of the program. And then after you graduate, that is when you are going to start paying us back. That is what we call deferred tuition. For those on the call that are probably engaged in other commitments, say you are in school or you are working and you want to add these key critical tech and computer science skills to your CV and to yourself, there's actually a part-time option for you that you can take advantage of. One thing I forgot to mention is the fact that our degree is online. Kibo is a fully online university. So the degree is online. You can take asynchronous studies. You don't necessarily need to be in a physical classroom. So it helps you to be able to balance a few other commitments and get these tech skills, which I believe is very critical if you want to get more earning power. Because these remote roles, they do pay well because you're benchmarked against your colleagues in the States and other European countries. So it's quite a good skill to have, and it opens you up to a number of global opportunities. To apply is simple. I would put the link to apply shortly in the chat, and I'm sure Joy would help me in sharing the link with you after this session. For those of you on the call that are interested, and if you have relatives, if you have family and friends that you think this is a good opportunity for them as well, please feel free to share with them. Applications close on the 15th of May. However, anyone that applies by April 21st, like I said, we are giving them a free laptop towards their computer science education. I know my time is limited, and thanks, Joy, a lot for having me, and thanks for giving me your audience as well. So yeah, time is fast spent. I might not be able to take questions, but then I don't know if Joy, I'm permitted to take a few questions before I drop off, but I was going to share my details. So after this,
Yes.
if you have any questions, you can connect with me and then we can take it from there.
Yes. Okay, Jacob, so I would ask that you put your details in the chat and any relevant links before we leave here. And then I've seen Danlami, please correct me when you unmute, how you pronounce your name. Let me give you one opportunity to unmute, and if you have any question for Jacob.
Thank you very much. My name is Delami Catherine Tukura. I'm from Nigeria. So my question is, you said for the defer admission, that is after you are done with your studies, that's when you start paying. So, and you said you also provide placement or employment in other organizations. Does that mean that it's after we have gotten the job now that we can start paying for our tuition?
Yes, thanks for that question. So with deferred tuition, basically you're borrowing money for the duration of your degree program, and then after you graduate, not immediately after you graduate, 6 months after you graduate, that is when we expect you to pay us back. We are not going to give you jobs, right? We are not going to put the jobs in your hands, but then we are going to equip you to ensure that within 6 months of you graduating, you are getting a job. So it is after you get a job, after 6 months, that is when you start paying us back. And with paying us back, we've capped it at 10% of your salary monthly, because we know that you would have other commitments. So you don't need to pay us everything back at a go. You spread it across, and it is capped at 10% of your monthly salary. So that's a little bit about deferred tuition. I've put my email address in the chat. I've put a link to our website in the chat. Feel free to drop me an email. Feel free to access this link, and we can continue the conversations, and I can assist you to take advantage of these great opportunities.
All right, great. Thank you, Jacob, for that. Yes, this is, I think it's one of these rare opportunities. So please take advantage of it if you're looking to really improve your digital skills, and then just take yourself to the next level. And lastly, this is an announcement for anyone who, you're not looking for a job. For you, you're good. You're working and all. This is also something for you, or you have a side hustle. So we are already partners with HubSpot. For those of you who know HubSpot, it's a CRM platform. It's an integrated platform for making business people, achieve great success. So we've been a partner for HubSpot for startups for almost 3 to 4 years. So this is a program that's coming up next week, I think on the 21st of April. How to automate your side hustle, and make some more money. So in partnership with us and other organizations, we're bringing you this virtual web workshop to use HubSpot to automate your side hustle. So whether you sell beads, you sell slippers, you sell provisions, you sell food, whatever it is that you do on the side to make money, come and learn how to use automation to make that side hustle earn you a lot more